Hi, this is Paul Palmer. Hello again, Natasha.
Hey Paul, how you doing? You got money and people behind you. What's up with that?
Well, it's about cost of business, but unnecessary cost really. Because when you've got high staff turnover, you've got a lot of cost that you don't really need. But to retain them, you've got to get the right balance. You've got to get the right amount of um, not really promotion. It's how you value them. If you don't value your people, then they don't stay. But if you value them too much, they might get two big heads and move on anyway. So, yeah, I know. But they so the compensation package that you give to your staff is really important that you get it right. And the amount of compensation you give them to attract them needs to be right so you get the right people. And having the right people in an organization is so important that actually hardly anybody focuses on it. They just think, oh, well, we'll offer more money and we'll get somebody. And the HR team look and they say, oh, we'll just get bums on seats. To do that, we need to do this. Whereas what you really should be doing is developing a culture that attracts the right people. That when people talk to the team that you've already got, they think, oh, that sounds really cool and I want to come and work for you. Now, in my company, I get asked all the time, can you give me a job? Have you got something, an opening for me? Has there any opportunities? And it's because I suspect it's because I'm giving out positive messages all the time, helpful, supportive. And when other companies forget about the team, they just think about the process, the systems. They look at what the regulator, especially in the medicinal product manufacturing environment, they look at the regulator and they say, oh, well, this is what we need you to do. Rather than thinking, well, what should I be doing with the team?
So I have so many things I can say around that. I think one of the first things we need to stop thinking about human beings as a cost, and we need to start thinking about human beings as an investment in not only the end result, but the future.
Yeah.
And then the other place is, okay, we're hiring a human being. Well, what we have to stop thinking of is this individual that we're hiring. We need to start thinking about the group. I often talk about fix the mix. Don't hire the hands, fix the mix. Because you can hire the very best people, but if they can't get along, if they can't work together, then you've invested in the best, and that investment is pointless because they're not working together effectively. I actually was working with the CEO who said, you know, Natasha, it takes a year for them to figure out where the bathroom is, right? So, I mean, you've got to think about all these pieces of how long it's going to take for them to really get productive. Are they going to, I mean, this is like a marriage almost, right? You're not marrying the person, you're marrying the family, right? It's two families coming together. So we've got to think about how does this person as an ingredient fit in the mix of what we're trying to cook or bake or make.
So that's why a lot of people recommend doing a cultural assessment.
Absolutely. You know, the world's best leader is successful in a context. You move that leader to a different context, there's a 50-50 chance that's not going to work. They might have all the qualifications, they might have done amazing things, but they did it in a world with a group of people in a context. And moving them to a new context doesn't mean they're going to gel and mesh, and it doesn't mean they're a good leader for that context. It's the mix.
So that makes me wonder why we look so deeply into people's CVs.
Well, it's at least it's one filtering process, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but if they've got this experience and they've moved on from this job to this job to this job because they didn't fit in the role.
That does tell you something. Look, Paul, I worked with some best place to work companies, right? One of the organizations that we worked with did a group interview because the group wanted to see if that person would make a good family member, right? Is that infallible? No. I think it's more complex than that. But we do need to think.
Then, though, is it?
We do need to think more broadly than here's the person, here's the CV, let's hire them. They're a human, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think we're back to cultural fit again, which we've talked about a few times now, but I do understand why. And it's because the importance of building a team, not building a group of people.
Yes. Exactly.
I was looking earlier at a post on LinkedIn, which is exactly on this topic. And I dismissed it somewhat because I don't like quotes. I like people to have their own words and think for themselves. And it was clear that the person that was posting it wasn't. But it's a really interesting time we've got with the pandemic, with the COVID, because the teams are separated. And the ones that have got the cultural fit are the ones that are still working together. And the ones that don't have a good fit, that are just doing the bare minimum, they're just doing what they're told, well, they've not got somebody there to tell them. So now in the UK, we've got 5 million unemployed. And I don't say that that's the only reason. But I do think it's put strain on the people that are not fitting well into the organization, can't adapt the way the organization needs to adapt.
Hey, we're going back to change if we're having this conversation.
Yeah, well, doesn't it all? It all seems to work together, though, doesn't it? It all comes back around.
It does.
It's all
These are complex adaptive systems, and when you're talking humans, you're talking relationship systems, and you have to understand and be able to see in those organismic human relating systems, which is what I kind of specialize in. And that's how I see it. That's how I see the world.
That makes sense. And that's quite a good match to how I work, which is in the management system, the pharmaceutical quality system that goes that the people have to work on. So that's the interrelationship between the different systems. So you've got the change control, which we've talked about already. We've got the risk management. We've got the different approaches to allow you to actually run the business. And it's all interlinked. And I'm just thinking, so the TED Talk that you're coming up to do soon, is that talking about the way it's interlinked, or is that just the invisible man?
I am talking about the cost of invisibility to organizations, and this is one of the things that is invisible. So the potential of the human being is invisible, the relationship systems are invisible, and the developmental leadership approach and what we've got in teams is also invisible.
Okay, I think we'll leave it for today, Natasha. Sorry. Okay, thank you, everybody. This is Paul Palmer and Natasha Todorovic-Cowan, and we'll talk to you soon.